I like the beat. I like the beat, like the intro. Love the TIE Fighter sound. That's one of my favorite things is the TIE Fighter, you know?
Let's see who can do the best TIE Fighter real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Okay, I'll do mine. Ready? No.
All right, let me try mine. You ready?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's actually good.
I don't know how it sounds, but hopefully it's
Now,
weird.
if we have somebody listening or watching that wants to take those sound clips and put them over Star Wars, so it's just our sound effects for the movie,
I really hope they do yours. Just seeing a TIE Fighter.
That would actually be a fun project, like going back and watching Star Wars and just like redoing the sound effects
to your own things, or having like your kids do them.
Yeah, because everybody has a lightsaber noise, right? Like,
oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah, so like just that'd be a fun time. Blaster noises. Yeah,
that'll be something for our future intro.
How was your week?
It was good, man. It was good. I had some people check out the show and the podcast, and a lot of people, a lot of positive feedback. People saying they like it. So shout out to those people that I showed. I have actually a couple interested parties that said they may want to join us one of these times.
Ooh, that would be done.
Like David. I actually went to lunch with him today.
Oh, dang!
Love to hop on, give his take.
He's back in the AZ.
Well, he's here just for the weekend, but he told me to send you lots of love and said he's really proud of you. So,
thank you. Shout out to David, close friend of all of ours, and we'll definitely have to get him on to jump into this little project we got going on here.
I told him that he came a week early, man.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be linking up next weekend, and I was like, you would have here a week ago or a week later, man. I was like, we would have had we would have had Brian, Jason. That's about it. That's about it.
It's funny you mentioned about like other guests and other people coming on, because like I've been trying to figure out Clone Cast and like how we bring that back, because previously we were doing that with our buddy Brendan. And I thought of this really funny joke, and we might have to implement it, we might not. But like, how we started every single episode that was like, a galaxy divided or something like that. Yeah.
Like the first time you released that, I wasn't even sure that was not the actual person that does the voice. Like you did that so well. I was like, how did they get this guy to do this voice and do the voiceover for our show? But
well, thank you. Well, I think as we go into the second season of Clonecast, we've got to create the trend of like, previous last season, the Scruffy Nerf Herders lost one, or like we literally, one of us couldn't handle Star Wars. It killed Star Wars for him so badly. And will the Scruffy Nerf Herders survive another season? Will it just be one person moving forward?
Next season when you're doing this by yourself.
Yeah.
Or I'm doing this by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just blame Clonecast. It'll always be Clonecast.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. So anything else going on this week?
No, not too much. Well, actually, yes. My son recently broke his arm, and now all of a sudden he busted up his leg.
Oh my goodness.
He was not supposed to be playing at recess, and the guy was out there zooming around like a little TIE fighter, And I guess his croc got stuck on something, and he messed up his foot and had to take him to the doctor. Now he's in a boot, so he's got a cast on one arm, boot on the opposite leg, and I'm like, dude, you're a mess right now.
Yeah, he's looking hardcore, man. That's awesome.
If only it could be like Star Wars, where you get a hand chopped off and they just put a little new one on. Looks real,
How far off do you think we are from that?
See, I've always wondered that. I saw this timeline the other day, and I can't remember where I saw it. I'm assuming it was just one of my social media platforms, but it was showing all these different movies that have taken place in the future, and it's you're here, and it was showing 2023, and it was I can't even remember the recent movies that were talked about at the time, but in my head I was like, well, technically Star Wars, I always think of it as a future, but the very opening line is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So it's I don't know, man. Obviously we have prosthetics and stuff now, and they are making these AIs that look pretty real and starting to think for themselves and stuff. And Who knows, man? I'm gonna give a timetable here. I'm assuming you and me will be friends until this date, at least. Okay. I'm gonna say 2035.
Okay.
That's
I
my
will
guess.
be 45 years old.
Oh God. Think about that.
Still playing video games, still talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, oh my God, episode 14 comes out next weekend. This is crazy.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about like the tech, because like you look at some of the technology we've seen like in Star Trek, right? And sorry for the Star Wars fans. Yeah, we're mentioning Star Trek here, but you know, you look at it and it's just like we have tablets, like there's that. There's people who've created like holograms where it's literally like you can teleport someplace and be in that moment, and that's very limited. I don't know. Like prosthetics are getting so ridiculously good that I wouldn't be surprised if the technology was out there, like to completely replace your hand and to do it. The crazy stuff that I've seen is like Neuralink, where they're literally talking about putting a chip in your brain, and that can we've seen it with like monkeys. They put chips in monkeys' brains, and those monkeys can play video games, like they can play Pong just by like raising and lower. Yeah, it's nuts. And the goal of that company is to create this chip to give people the ability to walk. So if they have back injuries, the chip would allow them to kind of refunction. So like you look at that, and then the prosthetics, I don't think we're that far off. Like, granted, we could get
before my, what was it, a 12-year guess? 12-year?
Yeah. I think that's a fair guess. I do. But also I just look at like, what was the iPhone 12 years ago? You know, and look how far the iPhone has come. So yeah, 12 years is probably a good estimate that if by that time we don't have that technology, we probably got hit with a meteorite or something happened just to push us back.
Destroyed our planet.
Yeah.
So, do you remember like the original iPhone that came out?
I do.
Like, do you remember? I never had one, but I didn't get it till it was like the iPhone 4. But one of my favorite apps on there was like, it was like a lightsaber. You had a lightsaber on your phone. And then, like, now thinking about it, all those cool apps I thought were so cool back then, like changing your wallpaper and stuff. I'm like, that's so silly to me now. Like,
yeah.
Now, don't get it twisted. I have a Darth Vader like background on my phone, but I just remember like pulling out like a friend's phone and like, give me the lightsaber app because I just wanted to play with it just to have a lightsaber.
Yeah. And it's so kind of crazy because, like, that's a technology that I say kind of, like, snuck up on us, right? Like, I don't think when the first iPhone came out, any of us had an idea of, like, how much that was going to just revolutionize anything. Like, if we're in person and we're having a conversation and there's something I don't know, I pull out my phone and, like, immediately look it up. But you just look at that short time period of, I said 12, it might even be longer than that. But, like, you look at that time period and it's like, man, that's really a short amount of time for how much it's changed our world. But I don't know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, hey, another 12 years.
For sure. Do you think we'll still get
this
Star Wars
might
movies?
Be fake right now. You don't even know.
What part of your body, if you could replace it, would you replace?
I'm trying not to be filthy right now, okay? I'm going to say my hands. Yes. I really don't like my hands. And I'll show my hands on screen here. I feel like I have really short fingers, but I have a really big palm. Like, look at these little sausage fingers. Compared to, like, they're all short. They're all short and tight. Like, my wife's fingers are longer than mine. Like, if you, like, size it up, it's, like, this much longer. And I'm like, whoa, hey. I'm like, but then if you measure our palms, her palm comes up to like here to me.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, I just have massive palms, but just like grubby little sausage fingers. So I'm going to say my fingers.
Okay. I think I'd chop off both arms. Oh, yeah.
What?
Both arms.
What do you mean?
Because think about it. When you got a prosthetic like that, you're obviously going to gain more strength. So, like, I'm going to be able to lift buses off of people, like lift cars. And
here I am, like, you talking about an insecurity, and you're over here like, I want to be a superhero.
Or, like, if you got legs, you could run, like, super fast if you got prosthetic legs. Never get tired.
I'm really glad I didn't say something weird, like my nipples. You know what I mean? That would have made this whole conversation so much weirder. Like, I just really don't like my nipples. And then you're like, well, I want to be strong. So you, good luck with your nipple replacement.
We're totally heading to a future where instead of like prosthetic hands and legs, people are going to get nipple replacements. And it's like, did you hear about Jessica? She got nipple replacements. Like,
oh gosh. Yeah, she put one on her belly button too. It was weird.
Yeah, I've just always wanted 6 nipples. So I just decided. Anyway, Star Wars. Yeah. I did see that there was a couple things this week. Number one, Disney Plus is getting a price increase.
I saw that.
I was curious where you land on that. Is it too expensive now, or?
I'm annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
As I feel are most other people. I feel like this whole streaming service thing was really cool when it first came out. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like, oh yeah, you could ditch cable, because that was the argument. Like, hey, you can get rid of cable. And most people are like, no, I don't want to get rid of cable. And it's like, dude, there's so many things you can stream. You could have, Netflix or, but now it's like every single broadcasting anything has a it used to be $5-6 a month charge, but now it's like $10, $15, $20 for some. And I'm like, I'm not saving. Like, I could have had cable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and now I just don't. So, I mean, it's rough. I understand they're offering quite a bit, like, especially with Disney when you get like Marvel, and especially if you have kids. Like, I got kids, and Disney Plus is something that my kids love to watch all the time. So I definitely will find them watching that more than any other like streaming service. So, but it's interesting. I actually was talking to David about that today. He was talking about how he's still super into buying like hard copies of like movies and stuff.
Oh, really?
So when like Star Wars movies and Marvel movies, anything comes out, he still buys like the hard copy, and he likes to look for like the special edition ones and stuff. And I'm like, really? You still do that? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's better. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, sounds better. He's like, visually it's better. You don't have to worry about things buffering. And I'm like, wow, that's true. Like, everything is really like, I don't own any of these movies that are on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be the person that would do the same. I'd buy all the movies. I think the last Avengers type of movie I bought was Endgame. I don't think I've bought anything since, and maybe there's good reason for that, but what if they just stopped doing it? Now I just don't have access to all these, and I have to go buy them. Like,
right.
It's interesting to think if they just took it away, you'd have nothing.
I don't even know if I have a DVD player in my house.
Hey, you have like a PlayStation, right?
I got the digital. I have the digital PlayStation. Oh, I do have the Xbox, so I guess technically,
okay,
that's a DVD player. But still, like, because we've had that conversation as well, like, between my wife and I, of just like, oh, we should pick up this movie, and it's like, well, none of the streaming services have it, and we can get it on disc or VHS, and it's like, well, we don't have a way to play that, and
right.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see it, and like, especially when they're starting to take things off streaming services and you're losing stuff, and I definitely see the benefit of it, but I'm also like, man, it took up so much storage just to keep this stack of DVDs in a way, in my house. But yeah, I was looking at these prices. So like, I get the Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu bundle.
Okay.
And that is going to be $19.99 a month. And to me, like, you get those 3, and I'm like, that's not terrible. Especially when, like, Disney Plus by itself, ad-free, is $13.99. So, like, you get Disney, Hulu, and ESPN for $20. Like, okay. Like,
is the Hulu ad-free?
No, it is not.
No. So I have ad-free Hulu and Disney Plus. I didn't even realize there was ad-free Disney Plus, so I must have the ad-free one.
Well, that's what's going to start on this new price increase. Is that so they'll have like an ad?
Ads.
Yeah, so they'll have an ad variation that's $7.99, which isn't terrible, but like, it's still gross. Like, speaking of which, now a word from our sponsor.
Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Ads annoy me. I feel like so many times, whatever ad I see that interrupts my video I'm watching, whether it's on YouTube or anything, it just makes me not want to use that product more because I get irritated of it.
Isn't it crazy though? Like, going back to that iPhone conversation, we grew up with commercials and TV, and we didn't have a DVR, and like, we literally had to deal with commercials our whole life, and now we've just reached a point where we're just like, God, I'm so over this. Like, I
gotta wait 15 seconds. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Even like you mentioned Hulu ad free. Like Hulu with ads is pretty damn miserable. Like it's just it takes you back to an era where you're like, I don't like commercials. I do not like them, and I don't know. You look at it like it's pretty much double. So Disney Plus ad free is like double the cost, and it's like, is that really worth it? Yeah, I would pay $7 a month not to watch ads, but still, it just feels dirty.
Imagine that we're watching like a new Star Wars movie and it's like, episode 10 or something, and things are about to go down and you're like in a movie theater and then an ad pops up. Like, do you think we'll ever get to that point where ads like take over movies as well?
Yeah, you're talking about like how like when you watch like actual TV, there's ads like in stuff like that?
Yeah, well, like in TV, a lot of times they'll structure it like,
yeah.
They'll make like a tense moment, but then it's like everybody kind of pauses as the moment's happening and some crazy music starts playing. Mm-hmm. And then it's like somebody's shocked face, and then it'll cut to commercial. Like, what if they start doing that with movies?
Yeah, it's just such a this is where I struggle with this, because like, number one, you look at Disney and like they're like, we're losing money with Disney Plus. Like, we're not making money. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I love the service, charge more so you can make a profit. But like, I look at ads and 90% of these shows have like sponsored placements where someone's holding a Coca-Cola can and it's facing the camera, or like just someone's like, all the Marvel movies always have the exact same car, and they always like close-up shot on the logo, and I'm like, you're getting paid for that. And it's a subliminal messaging, and I'm just like, that almost feels like it's ad enough. But again, I mean, I don't work in that side of the entertainment industry, so I guess it's easier for me to say don't do it. But if it means that I get to watch Star Wars till I'm 45 years old, then yeah, I'll watch an ad, You
see like characters in Star Wars hopping like a Chevy.
Yeah.
Just driving away. Like, wait a second.
Yeah, I would love to see like a Chevy commercial where they have like R2 pops out of the back of the truck, and then like just it'd be so dope. But
you know what I saw recently too online, and maybe I'll have to find some pictures of it and maybe we can show them next week, but it was showing a lot of like the old Star Wars movies, and obviously, back then it was you're trying to make you feel like you're in a space environment, and so a lot of the props and stuff they had, and some of the lightsabers, some of the things they were holding that were supposed to be like futuristic, like transponders and things like that, were just like household items that they just like spray painted or something. And I just thought it was so funny because they're like, this was a laundry basket, but it looked like some sort of like part of a droid, and it was like, it was like showing these different items, and I was like, that's so funny, like that just everyday items were made and convinced people that movies are being taking place in space.
Well, and that's like going back to that what we were just talking about with like ads and paying for this, right? Like, do you remember growing up how when a Star Wars movie came out, literally every restaurant you went to had Star Wars there? And like, my understanding was like, the way that works is licensing, where the restaurant gets the licensing from, Lucas, and they would pay for that from Lucas. And I'm like, so you're making money there, you're making money elsewhere, and like, it's just, I don't know. I don't get
it. Making money. They're making money. Trust me.
You're charging $100 a day to get into Disney World, and then $20 churros. You're doing fine.
You're fine. Yeah. That's the crazy thing, is I would love to go back, and I know we talked about Galaxy's Edge a lot last week. I would love to go back like so much, but it's just so pricey for me and my family of four to go. And holy cow, man, it's just like, it just drains the bank account. And of course, when you're there, you're like, what's money? Like, whatever.
$40.
I'm going to spend $120 building a R2D2. I'll do it.
Yeah. It
still cracks me up.
There was a TikTok I got when we came back from Disney, and it was like this guy looking at this bank account, and he's like, we're bankrupt. We're bankrupt. And I sent it to my wife, and I was like, 100%. Like,
this is us.
Yeah. Yeah. Off topic completely, but like talking about the sponsorships and like back in the day. Do you remember how badass it was to go to a Pizza Hut back in the day?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever think about like how that has changed? Like, I don't know. Sorry, that's way off topic.
I always compare, and I think this is true for anybody living. I mean, no matter when you were born, I feel like you cherish these moments of your upbringing, and you feel like your kids don't understand. Like you wonder what their equivalent is nowadays. Like now that you have a kid, you're like, what's going to be their equivalent to what I felt watching Star Wars or watching this or watching that? Like you just question what that is for everybody. And I mean, I feel like that's the same. I mean, like you said with the Pizza Hut, like what's the equivalent for them today? I mean, I'd say majority of the time we order pizza and have it delivered home. So they don't have that same experience. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. The good old days.
Oh, yes. The good old days. Long time ago.
Something tells me when we're 45 years old, this is going to be the exact same conversation. You remember going to Pizza Hut?
When you have your strengthy arms and I got my fingers replaced.
Yep, just full on. You know, Jax from Metal Gear Solid, just full arms, dude.
Look at this. I can lift this car, and I'm like, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
They're longer.
I can give you a really good massage. Yeah.
They never get tired.
Man. So one of the conversations surrounding the price increase for Disney Plus is like, well, hey, as long as the content continues to be good, then, you know, it's worth it. And the other story that popped up this week was a Star Wars show by the name of Skeleton Crew in the latest investors meeting was missing from the release schedule. So people were thinking, like, did it get delayed? Did it get canceled? And I know nothing of this show. Have you heard anything about Skeleton Crew?
Skeleton Crew? No, I haven't heard that at all.
So, according to Wikipedia, which, you know,
okay.
Yeah. Star Wars Skeleton Crew is an upcoming live-action American television series created by John Watts and Christopher Ford. It's part of the Star Wars franchise, taking place in the same time as Mandalorian, and it's interconnected with the spin-offs and the events following Return of the Jedi. Skeleton Crew tells a coming-of-age story, and the series will follow 4 kids who end up on an adventure to make their way home after being lost in the galaxy following a discovery they make on their home planet. I've heard nothing about this show.
It sounds like it's like a Super 8 or Stranger Things type thing, where it's like following kids, or like the Goonies, where it's like following, which I love those types of movies, to be honest. Like, I would actually be totally down with that, to see like a kid's perspective in the Star Wars universe.
You know, I wasn't sold on this until you said Stranger Things. But I wasn't
like, sold on it until I just said that too. Like at first I was like, that's kind of silly. And I thought, I was like, wait, hold on a second. This might be really cool. Because I love all those movies I just said I love.
Yeah.
Like Super 8 and the Goonies, like where it's just a bunch of kids having to deal with almost like an adult situation. And you see how the kids handle it and deal with it. Like, I think that would be kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's also like, to your point, I mean, we see these heroes in the Star Wars universe all the time. The Ahsokas, the Lukes, the Reys, the Han Solos. But, like, what about the normal people? You know, what about the people that just get trapped in this war? And, like, yeah. Now I'm interested. But anyway, so, like, now that it's not on the schedule and it doesn't have an effective release date, some people are saying that because of the writer's strike, it probably got pushed back. But I also read it started filming in January of 2023. So it could be the fact that, like, you know, they just paused it, or I don't think that they would cancel it. Like, that just...
I mean, when those things happen, it definitely affects movies. It affects movies. It affects a lot of things. It affects shows. Some things end up never coming out. Some are pieced, you know, half together and just don't come out that well. And the storylines change halfway through the movie because you get a different writer. Like, that's kind of what we talked about last week, you know, like pay the writers, pay the actors. Like, you guys make so much money off these things. And unfortunately, I just feel like these big movie studios and stuff just have this mentality of, well, we'll get somebody else to do it.
Right.
Like, you don't want to do it for this much, we'll find somebody else will gladly take your spot, which unfortunately is true. I mean, like we said, put us in a movie, heck yeah, we'll do it. You want to pay me $3 an hour? I'll do it. Like,
give me a lightsaber.
I'd be stoked.
Give me a lightsaber and I'm in.
Right.
Yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that I'm personally hoping, like, depending on how long this strike goes, is like, I hope there's an increase in like fan movies and like fan creation stuff. Because like there's some dope stuff out there, like the Vader stories on YouTube, but like if there is a drought in Star Wars content due to this, like I hope just fans just go hard and create their own Star Wars stuff, because there's just so many stories to be told in a way.
There's been some really sick. There's a Darth Maul one out there. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like 13 minutes or 15 minutes, something like that. And homework. That's your homework.
Is it like his origin story, or is it like when he had chicken legs?
No, it's straight up like I think it's supposed to take place before he was on Naboo.
Okay.
Because he's like a normal, I guess he's like this, Sith apprentice, and he fights like 9 Jedis or something like that. And it's like really well put together, and it's really awesome. The fighting is amazing, and it's really cool. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
I think we should talk about it next week.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'll have to look up who made the video, but whoever filmed it, wrote it, everything, the people that acted in it did a fantastic job. So I think that would be cool to show.
Yeah, I'd definitely check that out. We've got the big Ahsoka show coming out, and that's starting in 2 weeks or next week. I think it's in 2 weeks.
The 23rd.
Yeah.
So what is that? I don't even know.
We're both having to look at our calendars because
where's my calendar?
So it's 2 weeks. So it's basically a week and a half.
It's on a Wednesday.
Yeah, it's on a Wednesday. Yeah. So no, go ahead.
I was gonna ask if you know, because sometimes they'll release like 2 episodes at once. Like, do you know if they're doing something like that, or is it just gonna be 1 episode?
Yeah. So the 23rd, first and second episode are coming out, kind of like they did with Kenobi.
So they're doing 2.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I was watching a TikTok today that was breaking down like who's Ahsoka and like where they're going into it, and I'm very intrigued by this series, man. Because like if it's just gonna be a one-off like Kenobi, I think it'll be cool. But I think there's such a potential there to expand it and like make it a multiple series type of show. But I'm really looking forward to it. But the question I had kind of going into that, right, is like we're getting all these new shows that are kind of expanding this story that we've kind of loved. And Kenobi came out, we learned what post Order 66 looked like. Ahsoka clearly survived Order 66 as well. And I'm curious where you land on this, because it's something I've been thinking about, is like, has Order 66 lost its impact?
Oh, because like all these people ended up making... No, I don't think so. It was such like a crazy moment where, because at that point the Jedi really truly were in charge of so much in the galaxy, and everything changed like literally in a moment. The fact that they were able to coordinate that and have that be something that was pre-planned to where execute Order 66, and everybody's like, got it. Like, it's just, that was such an impactful moment for Star Wars. I mean, I think the episode 3 where you see Yoda and how he's like holding his chest and like holding himself up because he's like, how could I let this happen? Like, he was supposed to be so wise and everything, and then he just let that happen, and it's just crazy. So no, I mean, I think there are a few that got out. I think it's not as impactful to the dark side because they thought they got pretty much everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they thought they succeeded and got everybody, or maybe there was 1 or 2 they think slipped away. But I think it's okay, because it's not like it's not like everybody survived.
Right.
We aren't seeing some of those other Jedi that were in Clone Wars. Now, maybe you can answer this. They consider the Clone Wars series, animated series, like canon, right? Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. It's, in fact, the guy who wrote Clone Wars, David Filoni, he's the one that kind of is working on the Ahsoka show. He's worked pretty close on Mandalorian.
Nice.
And in many ways, like, I know some people will probably get upset by this, but like, I almost look at like Dave Filoni as the new George Lucas. Like, he's the one that's like spearheading where Star Wars is headed. So I mean, he's obviously doing a good job at it, but it's just like, I look at Order 66, and when I was a kid, obviously when that movie came out, like, I just assumed all the Jedi died. Like, because that's what we saw, right? Like, all of them died. But I guess looking back at it as an adult, it's kind of silly to think that they got all of them in that time period. But it's just like, I remember it being such a pivotal moment, an impactful moment in the story, that it's like, now that we're finding out, like, there's this thing called the Path, and I don't know, I'm split on it. Like, part of me loves the expansion of it, that there's like, oh, there's almost like an underground railroad for Jedis, that they're having to, get them out there. But it also takes away the fact of, like, if all the Jedi are gone, like, does that take away from the fact that Luke was, like, one of the OG? Because, like, I used to think that Luke was the only Jedi that was alive during New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. But obviously there were other Jedis out there, It just, I don't know, it changes the Star Wars universe a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think at the same time, you got to understand these Jedis that are still out there, quote unquote, are in hiding, and they're staying in hiding, and they're really not trying to get involved in anything. So, I mean, the story of the first trilogy really was on Luke. It really was just hyper-focused on Luke and Darth Vader and Han Solo and Leia and all their story. Like, it didn't really touch base, and it didn't really say that there weren't other Jedi. It just, it's not what their focus was. And I think you could make a good argument for why Ahsoka didn't want to get involved with all that, especially with Darth Vader, being Anakin. So I'm interested what your opinion is. If you feel like, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit last week, but like, if this Dave Filoni guy really is kind of taking over, like, your question was, are they doing too much? Do you think he's trying to do too much? Do you think he's trying to expand it too much where it might cause issues with canon?
I don't know. I definitely don't think canon's going to be an issue, because, like, I think Star Wars is just one of those things that I say this, but, like, I understand people criticize it, but I feel like they're very protective of the property, and they're like, yeah, that's not going to happen, or we're not going to do that. But then you get things like the Hold All, like, we're going to go to light speed through a ship, like, that happened.
Yes.
You got stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that, like, when you look at what he's created and kind of expanding that universe, I do think they're headed in a really good direction. I don't foresee, like, Star Wars fatigue anytime soon. And, like, again, I think you hit it on the head when you were just saying that for a little bit. Is like, the original trilogy was such a focused story on Luke, Han, and Leia, but there was a whole galaxy of, like, other things. Like, how many of these stories do we know take place on Tatooine? That's like one planet in, like, the entire thing. And there's things like the Star Wars video games that are coming out that, like, I'm like, dude, this is a side of the story that I've never knew I wanted, but I want. And they weave them in so perfectly into the story, so, like, you're in the Star Wars universe. Like, there's this moment in Jedi Survivor, which is, if you haven't played the first one, you could jump into the second one and you'd be fine, but, like, it's such a good game. So you're on the path, and you're kind of where all the Jedis are kind of seeking refuge, where Obi-Wan goes, and you're there, and then sirens go off, and the Empire finds that you're there, and full-on scale invasion of stormtroopers is coming in, and you have this scene where you think you've won, and it's, like, starting to calm down, but then you hear blaster fire going off in the background, and you just hear a lightsaber hitting, and then it just gets quiet, and you just hear, and Vader walks in, dude, and it is one of the most, but, like, there's moments like that, like, I don't feel like we're getting too much, because there's ways to tell stories in the universe that aren't, like, same song and dance. It's just, like, different stuff. Whereas I feel like with other things like Marvel, it's kind of cookie cutter. Like, we kind of get the same movie over and over and over again. Whereas there's Skeleton Crew. We're going to get a show about kids. Like, okay, we haven't seen that before. Like, let's check that out. But I don't know. Where do you fall on that?
I think as long as they're expanding on the universe and not just repeating the same stuff, I'm all for it. I don't think I could get tired of it. Like you said, them doing Tatooine constantly, I'm like, okay, come on, show me another planet. Like, I hate the sand.
Yeah.
It's gross. It gets everywhere.
What about, like, the Lando Calrissian show that they're working on.
I'd be interested in that because, I mean, obviously we understand he's a friend of Han, and they showed a little bit of his background in that Solo movie, but I'd be interested more to see, you know, what he kind of did on his own.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, like I said, there's such an expansive universe. Like, they did a good job with Rogue One. I mean, even though it kind of tied into the main story, they brought in all kinds of brand new characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they really didn't have to keep too many characters that you already knew, and it was fantastic. And I love that. And I'm like, you know, Mandalorian, you understand he's a bounty hunter, but my God, like, I freaking love that character so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I just am so interested in seeing other characters in the Star Wars universe. I mean, that guy from Mandalorian that was like, I have spoken. Queel, I think his name was.
Mm-hmm.
I freaking love that guy. I literally have a shirt that says I have spoken with him on it. And I love that guy. I thought he was so funny because he was just about his ways and everything. And it was just, I loved that character so much. And I even like the girl that always repairs like Mandalorian ship all the time that he goes to visit.
The armor?
I think she's great. No, not the armor. The she's got like a kind of curly hair.
Okay.
And she's obsessed with Grogu.
Huh.
You don't know who that is?
I don't know.
I think it's on Tatooine.
Okay. Oh, yeah, with all the robots?
Yeah. But I think she's a great character. I think that X-Wing pilot that I'm not sure if he's supposed to be from one of the Star Wars movies.
The guy from Kim's Convenience.
Yeah, but I like him. Like, you know, I mean, I feel like they do a pretty good job of introducing these characters that you begin to like, and I'm totally for, you know, bring in new people, new characters. Give me somebody to care about. I think, like you said, if they end up doing something with Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Ahsoka and make this Avengers style, you know, they all have to join together to do something, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Maybe bring Snoke back, you know?
Oh.
Gone too soon.
I mean, hell, the Emperor returned, so really the door's open for anybody.
Somehow the Emperor returned.
Isn't it? Do you think they got through that whole process and nobody was like, "Hey guys, this is going to become the biggest meme of all time"? Like, somehow the Emperor's returned.
I don't know. I felt like they could have done a better job bringing him back, but to bring him back and then push him away again in one movie, I was like, it was just kind of frustrating. Like, if they maybe would have brought him back in episode 7, okay, you know, and have it be a trilogy of him being this big baddie throughout 3 movies, okay.
Yeah.
Or I thought Snoke was going to be that, you know? I thought he was the new bad guy, and I was all excited, and when they killed him off so fast, I was like, what the heck? Like, I was just so frustrated, man. I was like, geez.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
There was that book I was telling you about. I think it was called, like, Shadow of the Sith or something like that, where it was, like, Luke and Lando. And to this day, that's I'm like, that should have been episode 7, where it was, like, introducing Luke as back as, like, this Jedi leader who's training Ben Solo and, like, reintroducing you into the world. And then it follows, like, Rey's parents and why they're important and how they're Palpatines and, like, what's going on with that. But it's like, that is almost the introduction we all needed going into this new one, because there was just so much stuff that happened that it was just like, why is that a thing? Why is Lando on this random planet that just pops up and he's there looking for something? And like, yeah, I mean, hindsight's 2020, so unfortunately we can't fix that one.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So
I've got some TikToks. I've got 5 TikToks.
Yes.
This was.
I'm so excited about this part of the show, man. Like, you just presented this last week, and I loved them so much, and I'm like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait for more.
So I've got a couple. Obviously, for those of you that are new, what we do is throughout the week, will compile Star Wars TikToks that I get, and not bad ones, good ones, cringy ones, and we watch them here together. And
mixed bag, if you will.
A mixed bag, yeah. So this one I definitely enjoyed. So let's check this one out.
Not the younglings. Oh, man.
For me, it was that they referred to it as a 10 kill streak.
10 kill streak. That's good. That was
gold. Yeah, that one was good. I got this one as well.
Come on, mate, we gotta go. What are you watching?
Gay porn.
What are you really watching?
Star Wars.
Which episode? Episode 8.
I know what you're thinking, Dad, but I really do believe Rian Johnson successfully subverted the audience's expectations, and that's something to reward.
We are an original trilogy family. You know that.
But Dad, the graphics in the sequels are way better. Can't you just try and like them?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Oh, nice. That's what Obi-Wan says in episode 6, right?
It was Yoda, you fucking idiot.
Okay, but Dad, think about all the Star Wars shows that we get.
Some are alright.
Yeah, like my favorite Book of Boba Fett.
That one like perfectly encapsulates every conversation that we have, because I'm always like, guys, the new ones aren't that bad. They're not that bad. And
then I pull out the belt.
Yep.
No, I it's hard because it's like the new ones truly do. Like the lightsaber fights, you can't argue that the old lightsaber fights were better than the new ones. Like they're so much better now. They're still iconic, I will say. The older ones are, but compared to the new ones, man,
yeah,
it's crazy.
I also think it's funny that like the blue milk has become such a thing. Like we talked about it last week of like people hated that so much in the original movie, but like you literally can buy blue milk at the park. Disney kind of doubled down on that one. So this next one, Star Wars has a lot of movies coming out, and a lot of people are wondering like, who's the villain going to be? You know, you've already gone through everybody. You've got Thrawn coming out with Ahsoka, and we're kind of running thin on like potential villains. But I think I found the next Star Wars villain.
Ooh, okay.
You want to make me the villain? Fine. I'll be the villain. I'll be the villain.
That was it. That's... You know what? Book him. 3 movies. Book him. He's the villain. That was great.
I don't know who that guy is, but man, give him a lightsaber and...
I don't want to see that guy in the alley with a lightsaber. Are you kidding me?
Fine, I'll be your villain.
Dude, that was good.
Yeah.
Man. That was good. So let me tell you, if those pop up on your TikTok, are you just like looking and you're like, all right, the next one?
So I have 2 TikTok accounts, okay? This is how bad this addiction has become. I've got one.
Oh, no.
It's like for my normal TikToks, things that I think are funny, and I share them with my wife. But then my second account is like cringe like that and just Star Wars content. So when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I gotta keep this one.
Gotta save that one.
That was a good one. But the other weird thing about Star Wars on TikTok is you get a lot of like just women showing off their Princess Leia outfits, and I'm just kind of like, there's more to the Star Wars universe than that. But
my dad sent me a great text earlier referring to that sexy Star Wars show that he's going to. You can tell he's very excited.
Yeah.
It was great.
I actually, after we stopped filming last week, I got a Star Wars burlesque TikTok of one of the dancers who was wearing like the Imperial Guard armor, and I was like, "Hey, I got that," but I'm like, we probably can't share that on this show." But all right, this one made me laugh. Sorry,
make me the
not
villain?
this guy again.
Fine. I'll be the villain. I'll be the villain.
Not him.
That's the villain.
Yeah, this one's not loading.
He's the cause. He's the cause for your technical difficulties, I'll tell you.
Yeah, he's coming in the back end. I found this fascinating. So there's military sims where you can create armies and fight them. And usually you'll see videos of like Chuck Norris versus 1,000 dragons. Who would win? And obviously Chuck Norris wins.
What?
Yeah. This one is who would win between a 1 million-strong army of the Galactic Empire versus the U.S. military?
A 1 million strong army of the Galactic Empire versus a 1 million strong army of the United States.
Wow.
All hell breaks loose in the matter of like 2 seconds in this video.
That's something I never thought about before.
Yeah, look at these
Watch the body fly. Oh my gosh. They took down the AT-AT. Hey, good luck with that. That's the trump card right
Oh
there.
no!
Stormtroopers can't hit anything.
Both sides are taking heavy losses.
Oh, they're winning. The Empire's winning.
Wow.
Come on, America. Do it for Biden.
Who's gonna win? Who's gonna
Here's
win?
the climax.
Wow.
With 203,000.
200.
What's this?
That's surprising because I feel like trained soldiers, you know?
What's that say about blasters? Apparently, stormtroopers can fire.
I mean, if you got 1 million of them, bound to hit something. You know what I mean? I feel like Darth Vader took out probably like 500,000 of them.
Yeah, yeah. There's also like, I gotta think, like, are the stormtroopers bulletproof? Because like that's a huge advantage.
Ooh.
Because if the American soldiers are just using bullets, then yeah, it's just bouncing off. But
That's true, because you would think that they would create. Well, I was gonna say you would think they would create armor to help against laser blast, but I guess that's not necessarily true, right?
yeah. So this is the final
Okay.
one. Anakin's Force Ghost explaining why he had to schwack all those younglings.
Okay.
So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
My gosh. You know what? I feel like that is exactly what Anakin's ghost would say.
Yeah.
Like, somebody had to do
Somebody had
it.
to do
I'm
it.
the
Yep,
chosen one.
I had to do it.
Wow.
I saw another TikTok. I didn't save it this week, but it was talking about how like the Padme and Anakin wedding was easily like the most impactful moment in the Star Wars universe, because if Anakin didn't get married to Padme, he probably wouldn't have turned to the dark side, because the main reason he went to the dark side was his love and wanting to save Padme. And I was like, that's a really interesting theory, but I don't know if that's true. I feel like he was already down that path.
Yeah, that is interesting.
The other thing the video broke down was that because they couldn't wear wedding rings, because like their marriage was in secret, that they exchanged droids, and that's why C-3PO was with Padme and R2 was with Anakin moving forward.
Well, yeah.
And here's where it gets
'Cause
even
R2
crazier,
was
right? When Anakin is
Wow.
like going to Mustafar to kill the Separatists, he tells
Yeah.
R2 to stay at the ship. And he's like, and they're like, that's him basically taking his wedding ring off and saying like, I'm leaving Padme behind me. Like, and
That's crazy.
and then if you fast forward into A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, R2 stays with Luke, and then C-3PO stays with Leia. So they have their parents' wedding rings.
In Return of the Jedi, you said?
Or just any of the original. Leia had C-3PO. And well, no, I guess Leia in the beginning had R2 and C-3PO. But then throughout the rest of the movies, R2 is pretty much by Luke's side for the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then Leia had C-3PO when she's like doing all the battle plans.
Dude, that's crazy. That's crazy. I never even thought about that.
But the thing is, like, here's where I kind of fall off, is like, it's a fan theory. And as much as I would love to be like, yeah, George Lucas
Pretty good.
definitely thought that through, I feel like it's too good to be true, if that makes any sense. I'm just like, I don't know.
It's probably.
Yeah.
It's probably exactly where it was just it happenstance, and then, you know, the times that it's not following that exact formula, you could argue it, but there's so many moments where it does argue it. And so, I mean, absolutely at any point, George Lucas could be like, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'm a genius.
Totally meant for that to happen.
Yeah. Well, with that, I mean, that's all TikToks I got for you this week, man. So,
hey, bravo, man. I loved them. Like I said, I think we should watch that Darth Maul clip. It's like I said, I think it's only like 10, 15 minutes long. I'll send it to you if I can find it. But we should show a couple clips of that next week because it's pretty sweet and people should check it out. But appreciate the love from everybody watching.
For sure.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff.
Agreed. And until next time, we will see you guys in the next episode. And may the Force be with you. Have a good night.
Peace!
See you guys.